Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our hopefully very short special meeting this evening. I will call this meeting to order at 5:33. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call to ascertain a quorum?
Yes, Chair Patrick Molina,
Here.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Here.
Member Bill Brown,
Here.
Member Jan Schubert,
Will not be here this evening.
okay, and Secretary Dottie McKinney here.
Very good. We have a quorum. And let's open up our meeting with reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on to item number 2 of our agenda, which is the public comment section regarding any item on this evening's agenda. So we'll open it up to any attendee. If you would like to raise your virtual hand in your attendees gallery, we will promote you into the panel. I'm seeing no hands being raised. So we will close our public comment regarding any agenda item on this evening's agenda and go right into section number 3, which is the approval of the current agenda. I move to approve this evening's agenda as posted. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any comments with regards to the agenda, folks? Very good. Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve our current agenda as posted? And I believe you're muted, ma'am.
Chair Patrick Molina,
Yes, aye.
excuse me, Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member
Aye.
and Secretary Dottie McKinney, aye.
All right, very good. Hopefully everyone had an opportunity to look at some of the documents on this evening's agenda, including our meeting minutes from our regular meeting a couple of weeks ago. I did take a peek at it, and I will move to approve the meeting minutes from our Tuesday, January 13th, 2026 regular meeting. A second, please.
I'll second.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Bill.
No.
Very good. Everything looked pretty straightforward to me on the minutes. I didn't see anything that needed to be updated or corrected. Any further comments or discussion, fellow board members? Very good. Then, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the meeting minutes from our regular meeting on January 13th, 2026?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Thank you all so very much. And we're getting right into the meat of what this meeting is all about, and that is the designation of a new school business official organization known as Vertex Education Professional Services. And I will hand this over to Mr. Colander.
Very good. Thank you, Chair Molina. So attached, you have the information necessary. I sent this out to the board prior. So it includes a couple of things. The first one, the proposal for finance and accounting, is specific to the services that we were looking at for Vertex Education. They are a sort of suite of services organization. And I think in our attendees, we have their representative in Dylan Smith, as well as Mr. Runyon, who is from K-12 accounting, which was brought in under the Vertex Education umbrella. They are the New Mexico sort of based organization, and they're both here with us if there's questions that you guys have for them specifically. The proposed scope of work, they prepared two. One is if we have them provide the payroll service as part of the scope of work of finance and accounting. The other is the scope of work without payroll included. Last time that we had met as a team, we had spoken about we had talked about the changeover in business management, but the payroll person at the time, Haley Lynch, I reached out to her separately, and she preferred to stay on with the school, and said that there was just some behind the scenes things which had prompted her to send the resignation letter in. But she said that ultimately she loved working with Explore Academy, would like to explore that option. So we talked to her about coming on as a 0.75 employee for us to do payroll. She is the one who has set up our current payroll systems, and for our staff who saw some hiccups at the beginning of the year under previous payroll supervision, the transition to Haley the last couple of months has been very smooth. And so I think she's actually done an excellent job, and I would prefer to keep her on as payroll so there is no disruption. My priority is no disruption to any staff pay, so that there's no hiccups around that. That's one thing that I would be concerned about in terms of transitioning to a different payroll person. And Haley's done great work for the school in the past, so I had asked them to provide a scope of work with payroll just in case, as well as a scope of work without payroll. And this sort of lays out their plan of how they would, what the scope of work would look like over from, a potential starting date of February 2nd to the end of this fiscal year, and then what next fiscal years would look like and on. I also included a master services agreement, and I will speak on that in just a second. And the last item included on the agenda is the ACES contract. We would not have to go out to RFP because they are already RFP'd through ACES. And I've been working back and forth with them. So I think there was initially an ACES contract sent out that, number one, identified them as K-12 accounting, and number two, had a column in their pay table so that we could make sure that the service agreement that we're getting matches the quotes that they had provided under the contract. It said CES. They had forgotten their own letter A. So I asked them to please fix that so that it reflected an amendment indicating K-12 accounting is Vertex, so there's no confusion there, and to change that to the ACES pay scale for that. So that way you can look at sort of the comparable, because as we know, we need to keep that comparable to what they're offering. The master services agreement, I will say I sent all the paperwork on to the school attorney and had her look through it. And there were some concerns in regards to the master services agreement, specifically to laws that are applicable to New Mexico. So clauses about, there was information in there where we'd have to say, but we'd have to abide by IPA requests, because the public records requests laws of New Mexico would require certain information that just was not captured in the language of the master services agreement. Also, there was, I think the address on the master services agreement that was sent to us is actually the physical address location of the Rio Rancho campus. So that would need to be amended. And Patty did say, so this might be a good question for our two that are in our audience here in a second. Our attorney, by the way, for those who are in our attendees, Patty Matthews. If I refer to Patty Matthews is the school attorney. Patty referenced that she would like to work with them to just go ahead and get language amendments built into the Master of Services agreement to make sure that it abides by New Mexico contract law, and that we are set up and have a mutual understanding that it's, I think there was a phrase or a term somewhere in the Master of Services agreement about the fact that the school will be forthright and forthcoming with information with integrity and honesty and things. And she said, but we want, of course, a similar clause in there about, vice versa. The business management office needs to present information to us with transparency. I think we all know in the past we've potentially been burned by a business office not providing accurate information to us and not providing adequate transparency with some things. And because that's something that we ran into under a previous business manager, and it has caused some of the challenges that we're facing right now in terms of finances, she just said she had a preference to be able to talk that out with Vertex Education to make sure that language captures in there is mutually agreeable for both parties and protects both of us. And essentially lays out like we're all going to be professional and be transparent and work collaboratively with one another, and that's a two-way street when it comes to that. So shy of that, of some of those changes, and she had some handwritten comments because she got it kind of late and she just wanted to go through and make some comments on it. So her recommendation was that everything is in alignment with the ACES contract relevant to pay in terms of what they're charging. And so she said that she told me that for this evening, the PO could be agreed upon so we can get that written up and get things rolling with this, but that she would like the opportunity, if the board would like, for her to do that, to work with maybe Mr. Smith and Mr. Runyon to go through it, or whomever they have to go through that master services agreement, just to talk through some negotiated statements that need to be included.
I agree. And I got a copy of that, and there were she caught a couple of things that I caught. She's got a much better legal eye than I do, but and Dottie, correct me on this one. Um, we we I don't think we can enter into a 5-year contract, correct? Because we are funded year over year. We can agree that we can look at it every year for 5 years. We can't exceed 5 years, if my memory serves, but we can't sign anything that says you will be our provider for 5 years because we are funded on a year by year basis. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Um, you can have a contract up to 10 years, but yes,
Oh, really? Okay.
it should be written to review and renew on a yearly basis by
Okay.
mutual agreement of both parties. But
That's
yes,
what
2 years ago, they changed the law. You can have an opened-end contract for up to 10 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Amazing.
And
All
I
right.
think
That is
I think this one is they're asking for 3 school years, right?
Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah.
In this one.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So very good.
But I think scope of service then would be obviously for February through July through June of this year, there is some work that is unique to onboarding with them. And then for the school year 27-28, or sorry, 26-27, that's a little bit different. And then 27-28. So I think it's actually 4. I thought I saw that it looks to expire in 2029.
Yeah, so
That's what I
three
thought I
full
saw.
school years plus this spring.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're compliant. I'm not being difficult. I just want to make sure we're tight on the contract language. So, but yeah, I agree. I think if we agree to approve the purchase order contingent on the MSA language being amicable to both Vertex and Explore Academy, then I think we're pretty green. And all of Patty's notes that I could read, there was a couple of pages that must have gotten stuck together when it went through the scanner. I'm guessing she's got notes on those that I didn't see. But everything I did get to see seemed to be relatively fair and reasonable and actually clarified some of the language. So it looked good to me. Fellow board
Yeah,
members,
Melina,
oh, yes, ma'am.
I was just going to ask if there was any interest in bringing Mr. Runyon or Mr. Smith to the panel, if there were any questions from the board or.
Well, let me ask the board, did everybody get an opportunity to look at the presentation that Jake said? There's actually a little PowerPoint presentation in there with sort of a welcome to Vertex language. I don't know if we wanted them to go through that. Miss Dottie?
I did have a question about the fees on a monthly basis and how that is going to work within our budget, because it seems high. I just want to make sure it works with our budget.
Yeah, there was, we did have that conversation because they recognize that as a service provider, they're pricey, but sort of there's a guarantee behind their work that they have said, and it looks like they have a very good track record in it. I did mention to them that part of building the budget together, of course, is working to look at like how do we integrate their fee into our budget, because it's higher than we've spent in the past. And so they are, I think the language I used, which was said partially facetiously, is if you're helping us build the budget, you got to figure out how to afford you in the budget. So that's kind of what's in there, right? But I think in terms of this year, and we know we have faced looking at having to make some cuts, I think some of the solutions we have for this year actually will help ensure that we're okay to move forward with this financially. They will obviously, we'll have our presentation coming up in February, which will be, it's that 2 weeks from now that we have our board meeting, and the financials presentation, I very much doubt is going to come from our previous business manager, who is not, how can I say, not as responsive as we would want her to be in her final week. And I am imagining the new business office, once they get their feet underneath them, will just need a little bit of time
Sure.
to get this produced. But I think it would behoove them to say, be here for the February one and present so far what you have found, and those kinds of things. Yeah, it's in mutual interest that's affordable, for sure.
Absolutely.
Jake, I do have one other question.
Sure.
Just one other question. They're replacing the VHIL group, is that correct? Is this in addition to or replacing what the VHIL group has been doing?
So the Hannah Force, who has been the last presenter, she was the replacement for the VHIL group. The VHIL group's contract ended at the end of December. So she presented in January, and she had been due November and December had been her transition phase. And the VHIL group, their contract officially ended in December. So she was brought on board in November, presented to the PEC for approval on the 16th, I think, of January, and then promptly resigned following that. And so it was a very short bit of time. It would be understandable for people to not recall that she had taken over from the VHIL group, because it was very short. She'd moved to Hawaii, and so the last communication I had with her, I had to wait till her plane landed, and then we had to figure out time differences, because I was ready to get going, and there, as Mr. Molina, that was several hours behind us. So if I have an 8 a.m. need, that's not conducive to her schedule out there. So I think there was some mutuality of the cutting of ties just because of the change of her circumstances. So
thank you, Jake.
Miss Heather.
Hi, I just have a clarification question, Jake, if you don't mind. In the Master Services Agreement, we were talking about the times of contracts, and the statement of work is for 3 years, but in the Master Services Agreement, which was the second attachment, I think it's in section 5.1, it talks about a 5-year term for the Master Services Agreement. So I'm wondering if that's where the confusion came from, and if you can clarify those two.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're talking calendar years, I think, or years. I think that was one of the comments that Patty had made, is we need clarification on what that agreement, and actually Patty's language included agreement can be renewed 1 year upon approval of the board, future renewals contingent on compliance, procurement code compliance, et cetera. So I think there's, she mentioned that the contract can't exceed statutory restrictions on it. So her detail is one of those where it looked like she had erased something on her comments, but that 5.1 is definitely something that she wanted to make sure matches sort of New Mexico regulation on that.
Right.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yep, that's what I think I remember reading. It looks like maybe we should bring Brian Runyon and Dylan Smith onto the panel so that they might be able to chime in. I think that's absolutely adequate.
Well, I've asked to promote them. They have to accept the promotion to join the panel. There we go.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for letting us join.
Sure.
Give a quick clarification. Hey, everybody, I'm Dylan Smith. Been meeting with Jake. Brian and I have been working with Jake around getting this all together for you, and hopefully getting some service up and running really quickly here to get things kind of help you get the ship righted a little bit. So that 5-year piece there, Heather, that you had pointed out and been mentioned a couple times, that is specific only to the master service agreement. So what the MSA really is it's a sort of a blanket partnership document. So with these other services that Vertex provides, if the school were to bring us on for finance and accounting is what we're talking about tonight, but if they say, hey, we need HR help, we need marketing help, we need help with National School Lunch Program, IT, whatever it is, this covers all of the services that we do. So this is good for 5 years is what it means. And then it'll automatically renew to cover that. So you basically just don't need to sign another one in the future. It does not lock you in at all to working with us. If this contract ends, basically if this scope of work comes to an end, you don't want anything else left to do with Vertex, but there's still like 1.5 years left on that like 5-year term, there's no obligation to continue working with us. It's the scope of work that determines that like actual time we're spending working together. So just wanted to get that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I had asked Jake earlier today, not that far long ago, is in a couple of years past, we've always seen a forecast of our cash and our expenses to see how we're going to end the year. I don't remember seeing that language anywhere in the paperwork that I've seen. Do you all do and help us out with forecasts to see how that works out? And does that need to be um, mentioned in any of the paperwork, or is that just part and parcel of what financial reporting is? Thank you.
Good evening. Yeah, hello. My name is Brian Runyon. So I was originally one of the founders of K-12 accounting. To answer your question, yes, it's in our monthly board reports. We have a packet that we put together that's kind of just our standard packet. And what I mentioned to Jake is that we tailor the reports that we present to the board based off of the needs and desires of the board. So if you want something that's not included in the packet, then we just make sure that we include that. One of the things I mentioned is, at least for the first meeting, is we would probably just try to at least mirror what you received in the past, and then maybe provide like an addition to that, like here's the K-12 packet, here's what you received in the past. Because a lot of the information in our packet, and this you'll see, assuming that we move forward, has some graphs and it's more visual. And it does have things like what you're talking about, like a cash ratio, kind of like charts that kind of show where we're projected to end the year. But in addition to that, if there was something that you would want that's maybe kind of just outside of what a normal monthly board packet looks like, then we have no problem putting that together.
Okay.
And then just very quickly, just to kind of chime in on the Patty. So we work with schools where Patty Matthews is the attorney. So I'm no stranger to dealing with Patty. And so I will say, I mean, we'll have to push it back and we can do some back and forth. But I know that there are some things where she's kind of like redlined and it's just like, I can't change that. But the things that we're talking about, I didn't hear anything that's like, like the mutual integrity, like that's to me like a no-brainer. But just all that to say that we have a couple schools where Patty is the attorney, and so I'm no stranger to dealing with her, and we work very well together. So just I want to kind of make sure that that's not a concern.
Perfect. Excellent.
I will
Thank you.
echo Mr. Runyon that some of those things I think are accurately no-brainers. And so it is exactly why what caught us off guard with one of our previous business offices is when what we thought went without saying should have been said. And therein lied the problem, which is why I'm guessing that, as you know, Patty is very detail oriented. And I think getting burned by a business manager has made her even more so, and a little tenacious about the language to say we can't get sort of caught in ways that we were in the past, because we assumed that being educated in your field and having integrity in your reporting and being clear with right, all of that seems like, of course, right? And yet, and I'll just leave it at that.
And then lastly, on the terms, I told Dylan will probably laugh, but I told Dylan, I said, if you give them a 5-year MSA, they're going to ask you about the 5 years. And then I knew that was going to happen.
No, that happens to every single school that we send this to. We got to fix our language somehow. Yeah, it's confusing. Yeah.
And the scope of work, so like what we would do, that is a 3-year. And that's what we typically enter into for almost all of our schools. And one of the things that I kind of mentioned with the director, with Jake, when we were talking about this, is just because of the sheer amount of work that's going to, from my understanding, just to get through the rest of this fiscal year, and with such a short time frame, that we would want at least like the next 2 fiscal years to kind of like have that investment. Plus, it kind of takes, in my experience, time for things to kind of work their way through. Like if you, and I'm just throwing out hypotheticals, were to bring in a horrible business manager, like you might not know they're horrible for 6-7 months down the road, or wait till the audit comes out, and by that time you're like in the middle of next fiscal year. But so I just on that part, it's like I know that it might take some time for us to kind of get out of the position that I think that we're in, and we talked about payment and getting through that. And Jake did say it's like our job, and I was quick to say, I can tell you where you're at, but we don't make the decisions, and that's where it's just like a team effort. One of the things I tell my staff, and I'll say this here, is just our goal is to be looked at as part of the school, not as a contractor. So if the school succeeds, we succeed, and that's ultimately my goal. So when it comes to budget, um, that doesn't change, and so we'll make sure that we put that into the budget, and we'll do whatever we can to forecast and plan so that we can make sure that everyone's getting what they need to get.
Perfect. Well, I will say this out loud. Our goal, Mr. Brown and I are on the dedicated finance committee, and our goal is to mimic what we've done academically. We've been a spotlight school for several years. I wish the school to be a spotlight school from a business and financial standpoint, and I will die on that hill. Absolutely. I'd like to be spotlight on everything that we do, not just the academics, but that's number one. Obviously, that's why we're in business, but I'd like everything to be that way. And we know it's going to take time and effort, and we really don't want to bounce around business manager to business manager. My goal was to make sure that the language was very crisp, clear, and that we were in compliance with whatever New Mexico state procurement laws were. My background with government spending was with Sandia Labs, which is federal money and a whole different FAR and all that. So that's why my gap is a little wide with regards to the the state requirements, because I was a federal guy. But anyway, as long as we're crisp and clear and tight, I think we're going to be in great shape. So thank you both very much. Any other questions from the board members?
I will say Mr. Runyon does have the facial and head hair combo necessary to be a part of this team. I think it was a good sign when he logged in. I said, I think he's going to blend in well. So that was always positive.
Twin day at school. Um, Kimberly, if I may, I do have one
Please.
question more about, it's maybe a little presumptive, but assuming the board approves this contract tonight, Mr. Runyon, you're probably familiar with the reports to the PEC through the Charter Schools Division of the School Business Official. And my question would be, I don't think we're allowed to name a company. So would it be Dylan, or is there a specific person who would be named as our school business official, or how does that work?
So I've been preparing on my side, like to kind of identify the team of people that will be working or assigned to Explore Academy Albuquerque. So to answer your question, once I identify who that business manager is going to be, that's going to be assigned to the school, that's the person that I would recommend that we put on the letter that sends to the PEC. The alternative, and I've done this in the past, is that we can put myself as that member. Sometimes that's been for schools that I've had where they've had a lot of change in business managers. I've done that just because I know I'm not going anywhere. And then I know the PEC looks down on having a lot of changes. So that would be another option. But in preparation for such a quick turnaround, we've been talking internally. And so I should hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow identify who that team's going to be. And it might be more people, at least at the start, till we get our feet set. But there will be one individual that we'll put on that form we submit to the PEC.
Yeah, and I'm fine with whomever it is. I just wasn't sure how that would work. I usually handle that paperwork and the follow through after this. So I'll just connect with you, whether it's you or someone else to be named. Obviously, need a copy of the school business official certificate for that person. And however you and the board care to do that, I just want to make sure I get that information as to who I'm
And
assuming approval, who
Yes.
would
and
be.
I'll add two parts to that, Karen, if you don't mind as well, because I know that our outgoing business manager has already asked. She goes, if you have the name and email address of the person who will be taking over, I'll send them information relevant to APTA. Like I said, her last day is tomorrow. I don't know how responsive she will be afterwards. And so the sooner we can sort of bridge that gap, the better. And I also think the Charter School Division, when they were at our visit 2 weeks ago, said they would like that information by the 4th of February to include on February's PEC agenda.
All right, quick turnaround, gang. Thank you, Jake.
And so maybe the easiest thing is to use Mr. Runyon for now. I don't know, but I'll leave it up to you all to decide. Just let me know. Thank you.
Yep. Very good. Any final discussion or questions before I make a motion, fellow board members? Seeing none, I move to approve the issuance of a purchase order for Vertec Educational Professional Service contingent upon the master service agreement language and final contract language to be approved by our attorney. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Very good. Any further discussion before I move to a vote? Yes, ma'am.
Point of clarification, that purchase order is without the payroll or with the payroll piece?
Without the payroll. Without the payroll. All right. If no further discussion, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the purchase order for Vertec Educational Professional Services, contingent on the master service agreement language approved by our attorney and Vertec's attorney and contract language therein?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Mr. Colander, forge on, sir. Outstanding. Mr. Runyon, Mr. Smith, thank you so much for attending and for pitching in. I really appreciate it. We're looking forward to really getting our feet solidly on the ground. From a business management and financial standpoint, we are going to lean very heavily on you. You do have some pretty sharp individuals on our little board who ask very pointed questions. And after we've been bitten a couple of times, those are even going to become a little bit more pointed. So thank you very, very much. We don't mean to be difficult, but we have got to get squared away. And again, best in class is our baseline, is what we're looking at. So thank you both very much. Any other questions or comments before we move on to our next agenda item?
I would just mention in terms of those next steps and getting the language kind of squared away on the MSA. So I already corrected the address. Sorry about that. I had a copy and paste error on that one. So that's fixed on the MSA. And I would just say, yeah, for your council, if they could send us that language as soon as possible, we can have our team look at it. And if it's looks okay, then hopefully we can just approve those things quickly. Once that is approved, we're all good. I'll put it into a DocuSign, and Patrick, that's what you'll receive from us, is that via DocuSign, and then you'll be the signer for that.
Outstanding. Very good. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, there was one other thing that I noticed, Dylan, on the statement of work. The Explore Rio Rancho campus is listed instead of the Albuquerque campus. I don't know if that's something that we need to straighten out.
That's my bad. Yep.
To clarify, can you please remove campus? These are two distinctly separate schools. So please remove any reference to campus, because though they use the same model, they're very distinct, separate LEAs and schools.
Right.
So if you have that on Rio Ranchos, we probably should remove it there too. But the Albuquerque does have two campuses, but it's elementary and mid-high.
Right.
But they are separate schools. Yeah.
All right. So it is just Explore Academy Albuquerque. That's the full name. Okay.
It actually doesn't. Yeah. It actually doesn't have Albuquerque as part of its name. But
okay. Just Explore Academy.
It is the flagship school and first school. So yeah.
All right.
It's just Explore Academy.
And Mr. Smith, would you like am I connecting our attorney with you, or is there a different email address? Do you want me to just get you two?
I would say, yeah, to both Brian and I, and we can make sure it gets to the right team.
Excellent. And then if there's anything that we need to discuss further, I have a grotesque amount of availability tomorrow afternoon. I'm happy if we need to jump on in a meet to discuss anything like that. I'm available if you guys need.
Sounds good.
I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to meet you all.
Yes, Ms.
And just loop me in, Jake, so that I make sure to get the packet into PED. You said the 4th, which that's
That's
Tuesday,
next Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah. They were looking for a quick turnaround because they would like it. I think the 6th is technically the deadline, but they want it on the agenda for February for approval by the PEC. So
So
that
I
was the
just
deadline.
need, the document, the name of the person, and then I'll have to make sure I get the documents for that from whoever the school business official contact person will be.
Okay. Outstanding. Well, Dylan and Brian, thank you very much. You're welcome to hang around or you can go off and have dinner.
Well,
Thank
thanks a lot. It was
you.
great to meet you all. Look
Thank
forward to working
you.
with you.
Indeed.
I'll move you all to the attendees, and you feel free to stay or go as you wish. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Our other agenda item in this section is the update on the sale of the school vehicle. Mr. Cole.
I think that's me,
Yeah, I
probably.
think that's Karen.
No.
Oh, okay, Miss
You
Karen.
can, Jake, if you want to. Let me just make sure okay. I think it's just an update real quick that, as you know, the board already approved and the PED already approved for the vehicle to be first tried to sell it through a negotiated sale to a uh, other school or charter school. That we didn't get any bites on that. So the second step was to go to an invitation to bid. That's going to be in the paper tomorrow and posted on Monday. And we'll be bringing it to you at the April meeting. I think it is for approval of the ITB award. So it's going to be posted for a while. I guess just wanted to let you know that we had to move on to the invitation to bid option, and that if you know anyone who needs a vehicle, we will be posting that on some social media. What anyone can make a bid. It's a sealed bid. It can be any individual, any person, and it is literally the highest bid. And if you go to the website, certainly by Monday, it'll be posted. If you or anyone you know is interested in a very good SUV with very low mileage, I would encourage you to have folks submit a bid. But it will be sealed bid and it'll be all outlined in that document. Lisa Hughes did a lot of that legwork, but told her that she didn't need to come to the meeting just to share that with you. So just wanted you to know.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions with regards to the sale of the SUV, fellow board members? Very good. Then we move on to section item number 4, which are board comments. So any comments by any of you board members?
I do have a
Yes, ma'am.
question. I got an event, right, in notification of an event tomorrow evening for charter schools. Did anybody else see that?
Is that at the Hotel Chaco?
Yes.
Hotel Chaco.
Yeah, that's the dinner or whatever. So
Yep, it's a recognition dinner. I RSVP'd to it that I would attend if I'm still in town. So I got my ticket. So I don't know if anybody else RSVP'd and that was what that is, but that's what that is all about.
Okay, well, I'll RSVP and maybe I'll see you there.
Very good.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
You're welcome. Well, my board comment is thanks to each and every one of you for being here this evening. Thank you so, so very much. We are enthusiastic and hopeful that we will get squared away here in short order. And all of you participating is of great importance and absolutely appreciated. So thank you all so very much. Any further board comments before we move on?
Good work, Jake.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you. It was a quick turnaround of stuff, but
Yeah,
I feel I hear Dottie, what you said, because I mean I was the first one that got to see the price on that sticker, but I think it's a priority, and I felt good about their ability to get in and get things fixed and solid for us. And like I said, ultimately, I told Mr. Runyon, I said I understand that this contract is it's a big investment for us as a school. It's a necessary investment for us as a school. And I said, and as the person who's helping us to build our budget, it'll be up to you to help me figure out how to afford you. And he smiled and said, absolutely, we're going to get it working. So
perfect.
Great. Hopefully we'll be on our way to better days again with our finances.
Amen. Wonderful. Well then, I hereby adjourn this meeting at 6:12 p.m. Our next regular meeting of the Governing Council is scheduled for Tuesday, February 10th, 2026, via this platform at 5:30 p.m. Once again, thank you all so very much. And to our attendees, thank you for coming. And we will see everyone no later than Tuesday, February 10th. Thank you so very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.